Should the NBA go back to East versus West? We're going to talk about it today on Pistons Daily. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pistons Daily, your go-to podcast for daily Detroit Pistons content, game recaps, Coach T's keys, trade rumors, and real conversations about what's working and what's not with your Detroit Pistons. I'm your host, Tony Nash, aka Coach T, and if you love the Pistons, you've come to the right place because that's what we talk about every day right here on Pistons Daily. If you haven't already, please head on over to the channel and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. This is a fan podcast, so we talk about what the fans want to hear, and I love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know the things you want me to talk about, and the players, the moves, the things that you'd like to hear. I love to know, and I love to see what you guys have to say in the comments. So, obviously, we got a couple days with no games. Had a great All-Star game last night. I guess it would be 2 nights ago now. And just super entertaining. There was lots of opinions about it on sports media yesterday. And I think overall it was very positive. Everybody seemed to really like the new format. And we're going to talk all about it. But before I get into talking about whether we should go back to East versus West, I really want to talk a little bit about our main All-Star, and that is Cade Cunningham. By the numbers, there was a really great post put out today that I wanted to take some time to, I think it was by Clutch Points, and they did some really cool analysis of Cade and what he's done as a point guard so far this season, and it's really, really impressive. And you watch Cade in the All-Star game, and he's not yet at the level of like a Kawhi Leonard or a KD, these guys that can just get crazy out, or even an Anthony Edwards, who's had a few more years in the league and, continues to grow. I think Cade will get there. He's still so young. We have to remember Cade's 24, JD is 22, so they have a ton of room to grow. And so, sometimes we don't see him putting up the big numbers. He's not putting up 50-point nights. He's just very, very steady, and you watch him in the All-Star game, and although he made some great plays and he was really steady, he doesn't necessarily fill the stat sheet, and it kind of shows you how the Pistons just win with steady, consistent play. But there were some things here that I thought were really, really interesting and impressive. So first of all, I'm going to start with the basic stats amongst the entire NBA, and that is that Cade is first in secondary assists. That means hockey assists, meaning when he passes to a player and they pass to someone else immediately and they score. He's first in the league in that. He's first in potential assists, meaning 827 potential assists, meaning passes he made that should have ended up in a bucket or had a miss that should have been a make. He's first in points created by assists overall with 1,167 points created. He's first in total assists, 452. He's second in assists per game, 9.6, and he's first in assists per minutes played this season. So 15.4% of Cade's passes this year have become assists. So super impressive when you think about a true point guard. And I think Cade's one of those guys that if he really focused on scoring, he could be a 30 plus per night points game. I mean, I can't say that. 30 points per game plus a night if he really wanted to. But you see, even in like the All-Star game, Cade is a facilitator. He can score when he needs to, and we see him buckle down and do that sometimes. But then there are times where he just facilitates his teammates, draws the defense, makes the right play, and super, super impressive. I thought this was cool, and this shows you how Cade spreads the wealth. These stats are going to show you that he is an equal opportunity passer. Like, he doesn't just have his guy or his two guys that he gets the ball to, but he passes the ball around and he gets everybody involved. We've talked a lot about on the podcast about how Cade makes his teammates better, and this is proof of that because he has assisted to Jalen Duren 93 times. That's the most. He's assisted to Duncan Robinson 77 times. He's assisted to Asar Thompson 55 times. To Ron Holland 25 times, to Jaden Ivey in his limited minutes 23 times, to Karis LeVert 14 times, and I think I might have skipped over one. Yes, I skipped over, sorry. Isaiah Stewart 49 times, Tobias Harris 47 times, and Javonte Green 31 times. So you really see that Cade, when guys come in the game and he's on the floor with them, he's going to get them involved. And we talk a lot about point guards. I mean, this has kind of been the era of the scoring point guard, like the Steph Curry, the Allen Iverson, the Russell Westbrook. These are kind of score-first point guards, whereas Cade is really a facilitator. And what I love is that, again, he has the skill, he has the build, he's got the handles, he's got the bag to score when he needs to, but he realizes that in order for a team like Detroit to win games, and they've won a lot this year, he's got to get everybody else involved. And he trusts his teammates, and it doesn't matter who's on the court, Cade is getting them involved. And so, you know, when you talk about pure point guards, I mean, maybe there are other point guards that maybe are faster. You look at a Tyrese Maxey who's just lightning quick, can put up threes at a higher rate, a higher volume. You look at a guy like Jalen Brunson who can create a lot of offense, who can get to the line a lot, who can hit some really big shots down the stretch. And you see some other point guards like this, and then you compare him to someone like Cade. And to me, the biggest difference is those guys are phenomenal individual players, but Cade makes everybody around him better. And I think that's really a reflection of even the win in the All-Star game. As Cade ran point most of the time, and you saw him facilitating a lot of guys and keeping things going. And, you know, a guy like Anthony Edwards takes tons and tons of shots, which we needed. But Cade didn't take that many shots. I think he took a total of 12 shots. Well, let's see. Cade had, in 25 minutes on the court, he had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and he was 6 for 13. So only took 13 shots in 25 minutes, you know, and compared to some of the other guys is low. But think about that. Essentially in 3 quarters of play, and really 2 full quarters, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, almost a triple-double. Super impressive for an all-star game. And so even in a situation like that, with all the lights, Cade's a winner. He wants to win, and even before he puts himself out in front, he gets a lot of his guys involved. So I just think that's incredible. So, you know, you talk about point guards. I didn't mention Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Phenomenal, you know, player, phenomenal point guard. And he certainly makes the guys around him better. But I think in terms of pure what you would want in a point guard, I think Cade is the ultimate point guard. He's big, he's strong, he can get to the cup, he's a decent shooter, great passer, plays unbelievable perimeter defense, gets a lot of block shots, gets rebounds. What more could you ask for? And he impacts winning on another level. And so just wanted to give that kind of shout out to Cade. As man, it was just awesome seeing him in the All-Star game and his presence. And, you know, I've seen people in some of the comments saying like Cade should have shot more and Cade didn't do what he could have done and he didn't do what some of the other guys did. And I think it's crazy. I mean, Cade played his game and he showcased what he is and who he is. And listen, he's going to be an All-Star a lot more. You're going to see a lot more of him in the All-Star game. And I think we're going to see him. His offensive game is only going to continue to improve. But at the end of the day, we want to win, and Cade is facilitating that. And then I thought this was really cool. They asked him, a reporter asked him, Cade, you got so much aura. Where does your aura come from, and how do I get some? And he kind of paused for a second and kind of smiled. And he said this quote, which I thought was really funny. He said, I get my aura from Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And God blessed me with parents who raised me the right way, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And, you know, Cade is an outspoken Christian. I wore my Jesus Save shirt tonight. I'm an outspoken Christian as well. And so, listen, I appreciate a guy like that having a big platform. And even though it's something silly like his aura, using an opportunity to point the attention back to Jesus, that meant a lot to me. And I don't obviously lead with that here on the podcast, but I thought that was really cool to see him do that. It meant a lot to me as a fellow believer, and I've just become such a big Cade fan and who he is and his character and his integrity. So for those of you who think Cade and JD didn't play great, JD also ended up with 15, 11, and 3 in his limited minutes. I think he played like 23 minutes. So, I mean, really, really solid performances from a first-time All-Star and from a second-time All-Star. And if you remember last year, Cade maybe played like 3 or 4 minutes entirely in the All-Star game. And so this year really just kind of led the team to the championship in the All-Star game. And I thought it was really, really cool. And then next thing I want to talk about is, should the All-Star game go back to East versus West? There was a lot of talk about that on media yesterday, and Cade actually said, they asked him about the All-Star format, and he said, I would like to experience East versus West. I want to be able to experience what all the greats played. And he said, I grew up watching East versus West, and I would love to do that. He saw LeBron saying he doesn't understand the whole world. He's like, the whole world against the USA is crazy. The world is so much bigger. And I don't know what he was saying. But, in my opinion, LeBron and D. Wade and Carmelo, those are kind of the guys that ruined the All-Star game the way it is now. Those are the guys that kind of started just kind of taking it so lightly, didn't play seriously, jacking up half-court shots. And that's where it got to the point under their watch, really, where it just got really tough to watch, where games were like 180 to 190, and just no defense being played, and just super unbearable to watch. And so LeBron's opinion, doesn't really matter to me. He doesn't take the All-Star game seriously. Of course, in my opinion, in this one, the young guys really set the tone. Wemby and Anthony Edwards, and I think our Pistons guys really set the tone that we're going to play defense. We're going to play hard. You had one game and going to overtime. Multiple games went down to the final shot. Lots of free throws. Wemby was in it to win it, and they lost both of their games, but they were missing quite a few guys as well. But, would it be possible to go back to East versus West and still get that kind of competitiveness? What I think everybody loved about the All-Star game this last weekend was it was really competitive. Guys were trying. Defense was being played. It was exciting basketball. You still got to see your favorite players showcasing their talents, but you got to see them playing for something as well. So I thought it was cool. And then James Hansen on X, he wrote, here's how you fix the All-Star game. This was prior to actually watching it, but he said, go back to East versus West, go back to the old lottery odds, enforce strict punishment for bad officiating, bring back hand checking, and stop this overreacting to the three-point fouls. Remove all back-to-backs and 3 games in 4 days by shortening the season to 72 games. This ain't that hard. Sorry, this was, he was talking about how to fix the NBA. And so I'll read that again because I prefaced it with how to fix the All-Star game. This guy was talking about how do you fix the NBA overall. So he said, go back to East versus West, go back to the old lottery odds, enforce strict punishment for bad officiating. I 100% agree with that. Bring back hand checking and stop this overreaction to the three-point fouls. I 100% agree with that. Remove all back-to-backs and 3 games in 4 days. I think that would be great as well. Then you wouldn't get so much load management garbage. And then reduce the season to 72 games. And I think that's also a good idea. I mean, it really doesn't seem like it's that difficult. I understand that the players get paid more to play those extra 10 games, and there's more money to be brought in. But I think when you're thinking fans first, and when you're thinking about the quality of the league, those are some really good solutions. But I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about going back to East versus West? Did we like the new format? I would have loved to see that world team with Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and Shea. That's really 4 of the top 6-7 players in the NBA. And so you put those guys in there, it might be a different game. And so I would like to continue to see World versus USA. I think it made it competitive. I did like the old heads versus the young guys. I thought the way they broke it up was brilliant, and I thought it made for good basketball. But I'd love to hear from you guys. I like the new format. Can we go back to East versus West at some point where it's a true voted-in starting 5, 2 teams, the best 12 from each conference? Who knows? I think if we get another year or 2 of it being really competitive, it might be something we can consider, because I think this young group of guys is hungry, and I think they're going to want to play the All-Star game the right way. But we'll see how it goes. And then I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk that FanDuel put out their predictions for who would be the roster for Team USA in 2028. And I thought it was cool because both Cade and JD made the roster. For the guards, they picked Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, and Cade Cunningham. Solid lineup of guards. For forwards, they picked Jason Tatum, Cooper Flagg, Evan Mobley, Jalen Williams, and Scotty Barnes. And then for bigs, they picked Jalen Duren and Chet Holmgren. So really, really solid lineup, a solid 12. But I think there were some really kind of evident snubs, but I'd love to hear. I made a list of other people who could potentially go and make an impact. I think these world teams are getting really good. We got to take our 12 best guys, hands down, like beyond who we want to see as fans. Like, we got to take the 12 best players because France and Jokic's team, I don't know why it's leaving my mind right now. But anyways, those two teams really put it to us and almost beat us. And if it wasn't for, LeBron, KD, and Steph, we would have been in trouble. And so some of the guys left off, I know he's not having a great year, but John Morant, Trae Young, to me, I probably wouldn't put him on there, but he's certainly a great player. Zion Williamson, when he's healthy, is quite dominant. Bam Adebayo has already been to 2 Olympics and has played well. Jaylen Brown, he's having an MVP type season, and you watch him play, he's really good. How does he not get considered for that list? Paolo Banchero, he's only going to improve and get better. Tyrese Maxey, having an MVP type season as well. Jalen Johnson, Jalen Brunson. Obviously I'm not a fan of Brunson, but should he not be considered to be on the squad? How about Kawhi Leonard? Did we see him in the All-Star game? Just went crazy. And I know he's going to be 3 years older, but you need some veterans on the team. So how about Kawhi? How about KD if he's still playing, which I think he will be? I know KD's already done like 4 or 5 Olympics, so maybe he's on it. How about Steph Curry? He's got a couple years left in him, and he was huge for us in the Olympics. So I think some big names were kind of left off. I don't know how the final selection will happen. Maybe it's got to come down to if those guys want to do it. The fact that some of those guys were left off, to me, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Kawhi, Steph, like those are guys that you almost have to put on there somehow. And then maybe some of those young guys, need to come off. And I know we're talking about a lot of guards, but Evan Mobley, Jalen Williams, good players, but maybe not quite better than Kawhi and Jaylen Brown. The big men, I would honestly rather see Bam Adebayo with Jalen Duren over Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren, I'm not a big fan of his, but and then, Cooper Flagg is going to be great and only going to get better. He probably should be on there, but, I don't know, over Steph. I know it's a guard versus a forward, so I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think got left off that should be on there? If you had to pick 12 players to go right now, obviously we got 3 more years, so things could change. 2 more years, so things could change. But who would you pick to be on the squad? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments about what you think Team USA should be. But again, this isn't official. This is FanDuel's predictions. It's a gambling site, so they're using different odds and different statistics. But to me, I think there's some big names missing off that list. So let me know your thoughts. And then I'll round the episode off with the latest MVP rankings coming out of the All-Star break. They picked who are, the top 10 in the MVP rankings. And our boy Cade Cunningham has moved back up to number 3. Obviously, I think that's a big, largely in part because of our record and how the Pistons are playing. And they continue to surprise everybody. They continue to defy odds and are just having an incredible season. And when you see who Cade's surrounded with, there's no question that he is and should be in that MVP conversation. I know Jokic, who just moved into the number 1 spot, is only 1 or 2 games from missing being able to even win, be qualified for awards. I know Shea's missed quite a few games. So could those two miss enough games that Cade just kind of by default is the number 1 guy? Who knows? But he's certainly in the conversation. Like I said, I've said this before on the podcast, Cade is definitely not right now the best player in the NBA. But when you talk about most valuable to their team, I think you take Cade off this team long term, and they might not even be, a playoff team. I think they probably would, but they really struggle at the point guard when Cade's not in there, unless they got Dennis running. But, he's still learning. He's certainly not going to lead a team as a point guard. So you take Cade off the team, and boy, now you could say that too about Jokic. You could say that about Shea. So no question that those other guys are extremely valuable to their team. But what the Pistons are doing this year with the roster they have is truly a reflection of Cade. So at number 1, they have Jokic. Number 2, Shea. Number 3, Cade. Number 4, Luka. Number 5, Wemby. Number 6, Jaylen Brown. Number 7, Anthony Edwards. Number 8, Donovan Mitchell. Number 9, Jalen Brunson. Number 10, Jamal Murray. So what do you guys think about that list? Where do you think Cade falls on it? Do you think 3 is fair? Do you think it's too high? Do you think it's too low? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I got for you guys today. A couple more days till we get to see the Pistons back in action against the Knicks. Obviously shorthanded without Duren and Stu. But let me know your thoughts about Cade's numbers. And really, is he not the ultimate point guard? Let me know your thoughts about East versus West format. Do you like what they did? Would you like to see it go back? I'd love to hear your thoughts on who the 12 guys on Team USA should be. And I might do some social media content about that as well over on TikTok and Instagram. You can follow me over there at Real Tony Nash. And then the MVP rankings. Let me know where you think Cade is and where he should be. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 3,000, guys. We're getting so close. I think we're right around 2,800, so we're getting close. Help us get to 3,000. Hit the notification bell. Share this with all your friends. Share it in your Facebook groups. And let's let people know that Pistons Daily is the premier Pistons podcast. And I hope you guys are looking forward to getting back into some NBA action like I am. The last half of the season, this is where things start to get real. This is where we start to really see who's going to make a late season run, and then we're going to go into the playoffs, and it's going to be super exciting. So, again, guys, thank you for watching. And as always, Detroit basketball. Let's go, baby.